Hello everyone, it's Adironke again. I hope it is going well. Today I'd like to tell you how to say what is your name in Yoruba. What is your name? If a person is older than you or they fit any of the other things in the honorific category, you typically would not ask. You would just call them by their child's name. You can just leave it at Iya or Baba. And if their child is considerably younger than you, you could just say Iya. Let's say they are not old enough to birth you, for instance, but they're older and no other honorific qualities apply. You can say Iya Bola if Bola is indeed younger than you, and by younger, like younger with some space, at least 5 years difference, at least. But the child just can't be too close to you anyway. The culture is really interesting. You at that point you just leave it as Iya, since even their child is the same age as you. They could very well be your mother. You can just leave it at Iya or Yeye. But if you have to include your child's name, then the child has to be considerably younger than you. So anyway, you typically don't ask for people's first names, especially if the person is older. But if you do have to ask, this is how to ask. Kini oruko re or kini oruko yin is what you would say, depending on who you're talking to. So the honorific is the ni, the non-honorific is the re or e. I'm trying to find my pointer so that I can show you. This is the non-honorific and this is the honorific. Kini oruko re, kini oruko e. You can also leave the re out. You could say kini oruko re, or you could just say kini oruko e. But either works. They are non-honorifics. So if you're considering age as one of the factors for deciding honorifics, and no other thing applies, they are not a king that happens to be younger than you or something like that, kini oruko re or kini oruko e works. Kini oruko re or kini oruko e. The honorific version is ni, kini oruko yin, kini oruko yin. If you look at it word for word, ki is what, ni is, oruko is name, re or yin would be your. It's a possessive adjective. And in the Yoruba language, if a noun and an adjective are to be beside each other, the adjective has to come after the noun. It can't come before. You first of all mention something before mentioning whose it is. Oruko yin, rather than your name, the way that we would write it would sort of be name your. Just using that as an example. Oruko yin, we don't say yin oruko, which would be your name. Instead we say oruko yin, name your name. We honor the thing before mentioning whose they are. Something to keep in mind. Kini oruko re or kini oruko yin or kini oruko e. Kini oruko re, kini oruko e. Or you could say kini oruko yin. Re or e would be your in the non-honorific version. Ni would be your in the honorific. So in this video, which is my Yoruba lessons for beginners 7th video, I mentioned that honorific pronouns are not age-based. When we typically want to teach, and it's the method that I had used for a long time until I realized that it might confuse some people and I just need to make it plain. When we're teaching at the basic level, we typically just say, just consider if the person is older than you to determine if you should be using honorifics for them. But it doesn't really work like that. There are kings that are younger, there are certain spiritual hierarchies present. It's just not that simple to say, oh, determine if they're older than you to decide if you should be using honorifics. That it's not really how that works. So I encourage you to see this video. It would give you a very detailed idea regarding who you should be using honorific pronouns for and who you shouldn't. I mentioned in-laws as well. You in-laws, you have to use honorific pronouns for them. I mentioned that too in this video. I covered it in a detailed manner, I think, so I strongly believe that it would be helpful for you. Kini orúkọ rẹ? Kini orúkọ ẹ? That's the non-honorific version. Kini orúkọ yín is the honorific. Bear in mind that, of course, you wouldn't be asking somebody that fits the honorific criteria for their name, except you really have to, like I said, you need to write it down, you need to sign a check, you need to do something that you would need their name for. Typically, you don't ask. You typically just use the generics. Iya, Baba, what other thing can you, all the others, ye. Or if their child is considerably younger than you could say Iya Bola, Iya Tunde. Let's say they're not old enough to birth you one, and their child is considerably younger than you, and you don't just want to leave it at Iya because you want to, I suppose, include their child too. You could say Iya Bola, Iya Dedipe, and all that. Kini orúkọ rẹ? Kini orúkọ yín? I'd just like to quickly mention that we Yoruba people like to combine words. So kini orúkọ will become kilorúkọ, the way that we typically speak. So rather than kini orúkọ, which you might hear, kilorúkọ is more common. Kilorúkọ rẹ? Kilorúkọ ẹ? Kilorúkọ yín? Kilorúkọ rẹ? Kilorúkọ ẹ? Kilorúkọ yín? Non-honorific. This either both combined like this, one word, re or e for non-honorific, ni for honorific. Kilorúkọ ẹ? Kilorúkọ rẹ? Either works. Kilorúkọ yín if you have to ask. This is also plural. Don't forget, plural pronouns are honorifics. I've addressed it in my video on personal pronouns. I've addressed that. You might want to check that out. This is honorific, but it's also plural. So if you are addressing a group of children, a group of people that are all younger than you, then it's totally fine to just say kilorúkọ yín. What are your names? In that, rather than what is your name, to one person that is either older than you, or they fit any of the criteria for honorifics. Rather than that, if you're addressing children all younger than you could also say that. If you need to identify them, you could also say that. Name is for identification. So if you don't intend to use it as a form of identification or for documentation or something, for somebody that is older or fits any of the other criteria for honorifics, you typically won't ask. You typically won't ask a king, Kilorúkọ, what is your name? You just keep it as Kábíyèsí because they're obviously, it's just them in that setting, so they don't need to be identified. But if you really need to identify a set of children, or you need to document something, or you need to, then you ask. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. And I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy the rest of your day and bye for now.